everybody, to the Awake and Sober podcast, a podcast about life in recovery through Christ.
Oh, man, there's that emphasis again.
I did it.
You love you some Jesus, don't you?
I do love me Jesus. I do. This is an exciting show.
It is. It's weird sitting over there and not seeing Bonk and Derek.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. Who do we have over there?
I got my wife sitting right there. She's glaring at me like I might say something mean to her or something. And I value my life, so I wouldn't do that.
And what's funny is the moment we hit record, Amy said she wasn't going to be nervous, and she's over there like...
I just don't know when to say anything.
I know. She's like, I don't know what to do.
You speak when you want to speak.
I know, but you were very pointy and clappy.
That's only the clapping I need so I can line things up. Otherwise, we would have a broadcast that looked like you're watching a Chinese kung fu movie.
Or your internet's running really slow.
Or the mouse they're moving and it's not matching.
Well, that's the Chinese.
The Chinese, yes.
Got it.
That's the kung fu movie.
Yes, she's very...
I haven't watched
What's up?
any of those.
Yeah, so it's quite the fun thing. But yeah, it's good to have them.
Yeah, as first one, we're going to be talking about healthy communication and relationships.
Then why do we bring our wives?
I don't know.
That means we're in trouble.
It was your idea.
Interesting.
Blame me. I'll take the blame. So, you want to ask your wife, I guess?
Yeah, how are you?
Oh, yes. How was your week?
How was your week? How are you doing? What are you feeling right now?
Oh, no. Let's say we don't have enough time for all that.
No feelings right now. My week was good. I got my flu shot and my COVID shot, and it kicked me on my booty. So I slept a lot more than I normally would. So
How much sleep did you get?
I got it on Tuesday. I left work early on Wednesday, laid in bed most of the day. Jeremy made me grilled cheese in bed. It's very kind. And I slept, and I had to go to work on Thursday. And then when I left there, I was in bed by 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. I missed my meeting at 5 o'clock. I knew I wasn't going to go. I told my people, hey, I'm not coming tonight. And then I went to bed no later than 9, and I didn't wake up till 9 o'clock the next morning. So I had 12 hours of sleep.
So, Jeremy, anytime she's running low, just give her a shot. She'll be okay. Just give her another flu shot and COVID shot. You'll put her out. It'll be good.
So besides that, it was a good week.
Good. Do anything fun? Anything that stands out? What made it so good?
Well, our fun thing, I would say, was last night at the Aviary. We had our fall festival. Jeremy and I both spoke. That was the first time we've ever done that, so that was very exciting.
Very cool.
It was shout out to Colby because he did an amazing job. There was 265 people there.
He is a great wedding planner.
Oh my gosh, he's so good.
I mean,
So good.
And I mean, he didn't do it. I'll give props to the alumni board too, because there was a lot of people in that made that happen. But it was by far the biggest event we've ever had. So.
That is awesome. Yeah, Colby said he was stressed because he was expecting 300.
Yeah.
265 isn't too short of 300 by that time.
And it was like 30 degrees and raining. So.
Yeah, it didn't look joyous outside.
It was not.
Yeah, at least you had the barn to go into.
This is true.
Christina.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How are you?
Tone.
Well, a lot better now that my UTI is gone. So that's good.
Hey,
Look,
Well,
I'm just going to be
Going
me.
straight to it, man.
to
Just
have
go
the women
straight
on
to
the
it.
women on the show.
So besides the UTI, how was your week?
Good. We got our car back because it was
Yes.
in the shop.
Yes, you did. We got it back. Ugh. And it didn't cost that much, so I was happy about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we ended up running over a tire on the highway when it was pitch black. Luckily, it was a semi-tire, so luckily it only got the,
Got a little molding
yep.
and mud flap.
So,
Because those can destroy your car.
So the way it sounded, I really thought it came out from underneath and slapped the side of the car, which meant the whole thing would have been done
Yeah.
on the side. But it didn't. The little molding around the tire was hanging loose, and that was it. And it was missing the mud flap. I'm like, oh, thank you, God.
yeah.
Because that would have been expensive.
Yeah.
I'd had to claim it on insurance. Otherwise, with the oil change, it was $130 some odd, I think, is what I paid
And
on.
we got the tires rotated on it.
Tires rotated, oil change, and got that all done.
Well, that's not bad.
So they took care of us.
yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
They love us up there for some reason.
they do.
Because we bought 4 or 5 cars during COVID. Who knows?
In
Or
6
5.
months.
And we know someone and their son went through treatment.
Yeah.
So I helped their son out a lot. So
Everything else good?
yeah, everything else good. Organize my week so I do one household chore one day a week to help ease anxiety and stress.
So you do a different chore every day of the week?
Yes.
Okay. I thought you meant just once a week you do one chore. I'm like, man, that's awesome. Sounds like me now. Man, our house is over. It's going to be a wreck.
A year. That's
No.
all I do.
I will say the one thing that's been frustrating is our dishwasher has not been working. And so tried to fix it. I thought I fixed it and looked up in the manual and cleaned out the filter and got all the dirty water out, and it's not fixed. So we're still washing dishes by hand. So
My dishwasher's been sitting over there broken for a long time.
I don't do dishes either.
Boy, oh boy.
That's definitely something I don't do. No cooking, no dishes. I am a catch.
well,
She don't
Jay,
cook, she don't do dishes.
our son was gone over at Derek's house to help watch their dogs because his wife was out of town. So our manual dishwasher
Wasn't here either.
was not here.
See, Shane and I were talking. I don't mind doing them by hand. I don't. But it just drives me nuts when I go up and there's dishes piled up because people don't know how to take the dish from here and then put it in here.
Yeah, I got uninvited to someone's house if I was going to do the dishes after we ate. I'm like, when I get invited over to somebody's house to eat, it's just my habit to do. I eat last, I serve myself last, and I do the dishes.
He does.
It's
Yeah, it's a sign of thank you.
That's why we use paper when Shane comes.
Paper
why
plate.
does nobody like me doing the dishes at their house? What are they afraid of me finding?
I don't think it's that. I think for them, it's their way of serving you. And so when you do the dishes for them, it's like a disrespect thing.
Oh,
For you, it's a respect thing.
I don't
It is a
think
respect
it's
thing.
disrespected.
People are having me come into their house. I got to show them some kind of respect. Most people don't invite me.
But you also don't know how to sit still. So
No,
okay.
it drives me insane.
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
how's your week?
Good. It was good. Had a little bit of I had a crazy day yesterday, whereas like I was in this mood all day, and then like almost 3/4 of the way through the day, I realized
When
that
you ate.
that I ate. But then I realized that I had night terrors the night before, and I was like, oh. So when I was talking to Mike earlier, like we were standing at the coffee machine, and I was like, that's why I've been acting the way I've been acting. And so as soon as I talked about it, and as soon as I ate, I was good to go.
halt, hungry, angry, lonely,
Really
tired.
Yes. Stop.
He was
take
the
a step
things.
back. Yes.
I think there's
Knew
way
it was
too many of us in recovery sitting in this room.
There's a lot of recovery in here. Yes.
Yeah. So we can't pull stuff over on each other.
No. But I've been having like nightmares and stuff too recently. Struggling with insomnia for a few months. So I have to take melatonin now every once in a while, which helps.
Yeah, what's crazy is like I haven't had those dreams since I was in the brick house with you. I haven't, and so it was a long night for
We
sure.
should clarify being in the brick house with Kristina.
Probably. So I was a therapist running
lot
the
of
brick
recovery here,
house.
folks.
Well, running the brick house. In
This is why the
term-
four of us on the podcast.
So yes, when you were my therapist, yes.
Yes.
So
But you didn't stay the night at the brick house.
I never ever stayed the night at the brick house, and I made sure that my office was on the main floor of that house, since there was 14 guys living there.
yes,
And
It's a
I was
pretty
the
big
only-
office.
It was an amazing office and had these like two bookshelves on the side. It was amazing.
Yeah, but while you were there was a big hole in the ceiling too
So-
from it collapsing.
Yes, there was.
and now it's my office.
Now it is your office.
Yes, it's,
No hole.
There's no hole, and I'm getting a different light. Mike's putting in a different. That hanging lamp light thing is awful, so he's doing that. But yeah,
Do me a favor. Put your mic down a little bit so we can see that beautiful face of yours.
my gosh,
Otherwise, all I'm seeing is this
that's fine.
microphone.
I don't need to be.
You're too beautiful to be hiding behind that mic.
Anyway, how was your week?
Man, my week is great. I got an amazing wife that loves me regardless of how bad I may be.
I don't think Jeremy mentioned his wife much at all on his amazing week.
Uh-oh.
Shane's sucking up for being a.
I was gonna say,
So,
let's rewind 30
yesterday,
minutes here.
yesterday I was in a mood, but I was having fun with her, and she knows I'm just playing.
Yeah, he was.
It was just like every time we turned around, I was just messing with her, especially walking through Walmart. So we went late at Walmart. I needed some cereal. I was craving some cereal. I'm pregnant, if
What
y'all
kind
didn't
of
know.
cereal?
Yesterday I got Cocoa Krispies. Sometimes a lot of times it's the apple cinnamon
Apple Jacks.
Cracker Jack. I mean, not Cracker Jacks.
No, it's this like honey oat cinnamon Cheerio thing.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
I'm a Fruity Pebbles girl.
Are you?
Oh, so good. That's my stress cereal. I'll eat the whole box.
She will.
Wow.
Yeah.
I won't. I'll eat one bowl a sitting, but it's a pretty big bowl that I have. Yeah, so it just depends. Last night was Cocoa Krispies because I had a little bit left, but not enough for a full bowl, and I knew that would drive me nuts. So we went to Walmart, got a couple things. But no, my week's been really well. Getting ready for Celebrate Recovery, getting ready to launch it and start all the training. So lots of recruitment of people.
Good.
Yeah, and it was cute today. One of our grandkids was at church as we were showing the video for Celebrate Recovery. And it was a video from 10 years ago that you guys had made when we first started. And even Michaela goes, "That's Papa." And
I look nothing like I do now. It was a little goatee.
He showed it to me, and I was like, "That's not you."
Wow.
it was so cute.
100 pounds lighter, little goatee. Yeah, it was a whole different world back then.
She was such a clutterbug today.
That she was. So everything's going good. I'm looking forward to what God has next.
You save it.
Spill. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Little bit.
he likes to spill stuff a lot.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's a habit.
What are we talking about today? Males in the room.
Communication. We already talked about it.
Effective communication.
Healthy communication in relationships.
Right. Which are not just marital relationships.
For the sake of this, it'll probably be marital relationships.
Yeah, I would say with
We're
our
in
wives,
relationship
Yes.
with a lot of people.
Yes.
we are, but
Can go into other areas too.
would apply to everything in our life. But look at most couples that get out of treatment. They go home to a dysfunctional relationship regardless, even though they just went to get help. When they go home, they don't know how to communicate. Heck,
100%.
the spouse that stayed home probably didn't get help while they were gone. And because, it's not my fault, it's all on him or her. And so that person at home didn't get any help because, they don't need it. But what happens when they go home? So let's talk really wives. These kind of relationships to where we have to learn how to communicate with our spouse when we get out of treatment or when we first go to get sober. Because how was it? How was it for you two when he went into treatment and...
So Jeremy was gone for 98 days. When he got home, we did 6 hours of couples counseling in the first week. It was awful. He came home with a whole new attitude, and I was then Al-Anon already. So I had some tools. I had a sponsor who I talked to a lot that week. But there was still things that it was like a whole new relationship because we left in such a when he left, it was such a broken relationship. And there was things that we had to repair that we didn't know how to repair. And we had to learn to stop resentment. And it was a lot. There was a lot of tears and it was a lot.
Well, and I will say, you guys didn't get to do it the way we had planned either.
Right.
Because we went on COVID lockdown. And so that slow transition of like trying to go home on the weekends and see each other instead of like being in treatment and then coming back home like 0 to 100.
Oh, that's exactly what we were. Like we hit the ground running.
Yes.
But that's most people that come home. I mean, a lot of
Yes.
people don't go to a brick house, a transitional home, stay there for a while to go home. That's the ideal situation.
Yes.
But everybody wants to go straight back home anyway.
Yeah.
So they unfortunately got to do it the way.
Yeah, and to put this into context, when I went into treatment in October 21st of 21, we didn't know Shane or Kristina at all.
Nope.
And so, and then Kristina became my therapist, and then she introduced me to Shane, and then one thing led to another, mentorship, friendship, and everything stemmed from this. So that's kind of the background of this. So
Well, and you also became my coworker.
right, yeah, and then I became a coworker, yeah. But I mean, that's kind of you guys have been with us from the very beginning of all this.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I think it's cool.
Yeah.
But I remember you said something last night in your talk, Amy, about how when I came home for Thanksgiving, I was only there for what?
Hours. You came home in the morning, and then I think we ate, and then you were like, not Kai. I think I said you weren't comfortable in your own skin. You're like, okay, like I gotta go. Yeah. And then he was gone. And I mean, it was COVID, so you only came home for Thanksgiving, and then you came home Christmas Eve late, spent the night, And then Christmas morning with kids and my family and your family, I think we did kind of together a little bit. And I think it was like 2 or 3 you were gone again. You're like, and I'm out. Like, definitely did not feel comfortable in his own skin in our house, which was really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't know who he was yet.
No, he was like a baby giraffe. So I always tell the clients.
A long neck?
Yeah. Well, that and trying to walk, like baby giraffes trying to walk.
Yeah, and I remember there were times too where I would even call home and I would tell her this isn't good for my recovery right now. Like, because there'd be like 2 minutes of the conversation that'd be really good.
Oh, you're so great. I miss you. It's so fabulous.
And then,
boom.
And then it was like, okay, I got to go.
And it was, now preference that too, or reference that with, that was when you first got there.
Right.
And I was very much like, I'm at home working 2 jobs, being a single mom, and you're out petting horses and living the dream at the aviary.
Fishing and petting horses.
It's way more than fishing and petting horses, let me tell you. But when you're at home doing all the stuff, so.
Yeah, just a little resentment when somebody's at home and you get to be in treatment. When do I get a vacation? Why do you get to do it so many times?
But I also think that's where we need to do a much better job, not just the aviary, any treatment center needs to do a better job of communicating with the family before. But it's such a rush thing. I mean, literally he called and within a half an hour, like of making the call, doing your assessment, packing your clothes, we were in the car. Like we were gone. So, and when I dropped him off, I chose not to stay. So... And I mean, I didn't get any information. I didn't know anything.
But I'm thinking you really didn't want information either.
Oh, at that time?
So that's another key piece, though. You were done.
Yes.
You were like, man, I hope you drown in that beautiful pond over there.
I wasn't that bad.
You kicked them out of the door while the car was still moving.
Okay, no, I at least got to the blue room and said, can I go now? I also dropped him off and went to work that night. So
I get it.
Was
You're a workaholic.
I am one of those.
Yes, we know.
But then I did have to call when you got to the brick house and calm her down and say, he's not just sitting around
petting
horses. And
I actually remember exactly where I was when you called because we didn't get to talk that much either.
We didn't.
So I was walking into work that night. I was by the circle as I was walking into the hospital. And you're like, this is Kristina. And I was like, who are you? I'm Jeremy's therapist. I was like, oh, we got some stuff we need to talk about.
Why does that not shock you? So, and then we'll come back to that. Me and you didn't meet the same way.
We did not.
How did we meet? I don't remember.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes, you do. So we actually met through Celebrate Recovery at our church that we were attending at the time.
No, we didn't go there to meet each other.
We did not.
No.
I was actually married to somebody else. You were together with somebody else.
You could say that kind of loosely.
You were living with her.
I was just wanting a different place to stay.
Okay, but anyway, we're gonna be honest because we all work a 12-step program. Okay, well, anyway. So
that is as honest as I could get.
So
I wouldn't want to say the other.
While he was in California, my relationship ended up in divorce because of some abuse. You came back, and then I graduated with my master's, and you came to my graduation party, and then
seeing you in something besides sweatpants, and I was like, who's this person?
I wasn't going to say that, but yes, I showed up on a Saturday church service in dress and pumps, and he was like, you could have seen the look in his face.
Do what?
I said, who says pumps anymore?
Well, they weren't heels.
Okay.
They were like the wedges.
Oh, that's a wedge. Not a pump.
Well, pumps, wedges.
I don't know what the difference is.
Well, back then they were pumps.
It wasn't that long ago.
They were not made by Reebok, so they weren't true pumps.
Right.
So he got to finally see the girly side of me because I'm definitely a tomboy at heart.
Yeah. It was shocking to see her in a dress. I'm like, who's this new person? And I got invited to the party. I'm like, whoa, sure. Might as well go.
And then you were working for the church. Or were you working for the church at the time?
Not yet.
Not yet. But we had guidelines that we had to follow.
Well, not only guidelines, but being in Celebrate Recovery, we just had to go to leadership and see if we can, because we were both in leadership. So we had to ask permission to date.
Did that feel awkward? Like asking other adults,
Yeah, as grown people.
like grown people, like, hey, by the way, is it cool if we do
It
this?
did, but I
Or-
understand the why behind it. The why is because if we break up, they lose both.
Yeah, it's not good.
I mean, and we're both in leadership. You have two people leave, a male and a female leader. That puts a really big hole in your program. And so I understood the why of having to ask and being held accountable by our leadership team, the rest of it. Plus, I was just going into being a ministry leader.
Yeah.
Because we had come back from California right afterwards. So we knew that I was going to be ministry leader into state rep. So there's a lot of things that we had to put in place.
Moving parts.
Yeah.
So for me, I was more working codependency and working on that side for a lot of years up until that point. And so it was awkward for me because we hadn't even gone on a date yet. And we're going to the ministry.
Hey, can we do this?
Can we do this? And in my head, I'm like, okay, I've always done all these relationships wrong. I don't even know if I like him. I haven't even gone on a date with him. And I got to ask permission. Like, if this doesn't work out, this is going to look really bad on me. Like, I'm still building my self-esteem, still trying to figure out, like, who I am in all of this. Like, I was honestly a lot of anxiety, really scared. But still knew I wanted to give it a chance. But it was awkward.
And then the guidelines were laid out for us. Mm-hmm. What were the guidelines?
Hands to hands, lips to lips.
That was it. But nothing was said that I couldn't be at her house. Until the day I was at her house doing homework and PK called. So Langland calls and says, "Where are you at?" I said, "Doing homework, man. What are you doing?" He goes, "No, where are you at?" I said, "Well, I'm at Kristina's." "Go home." I'm like, "Our kids are here. It's all right." "Nope, go home." I'm like, "Dang, really?" And so I went home. Couldn't be over there. I mean, if there was no other adult there, so that way it's accountability, right? He wanted to make sure that this relationship started out right. And I can tell you, I'm glad we did it. I understand why, but it was kind of strange.
I think that's something that we did differently too, though, at the beginning of our conversation, our relationship too. Because even out of treatment, we were married. But at the beginning of our relationship, that was a crazy hot mess express that we expedited everything. One thing we did do right is we went to marriage counseling before we got engaged 6 weeks after dating, but we knew each other before. But we went to marriage counseling because we had failed relationships and we knew we didn't want this to fail. So we needed help, honestly, like how to do marriage and life differently. So we purposely picked a Christian counselor to go see so that we could do it right.
So when he got out of treatment, what would you say was your biggest stumbling block? Why did you have to be at 6 hours of marital counseling your first week out?
Communication, man. That's what it was, because old tendencies come back very quickly. You learn new coping skills when you're in treatment. I didn't learn new coping skills while he was in treatment. I was busting my butt being a single mom, trying to keep everything afloat. My codependency was crazy, and I thought it'd be a great idea to start a new business while he was in recovery. That was a lot of money I had to try and get back. But it's communication, because the way we communicated before, it wasn't going to work. It was either because he was drinking and I was mad, or he was drinking and I was mad. Like, there was a lot of, and lying. There was a lot of lying, and that had to be earned back because I didn't know if I could trust anything coming out of his mouth. So how are we going to communicate if I don't trust you?
Yeah.
Still has to start somewhere.
Yeah, and going to premarital counseling prior to admitting that I was an alcoholic was one thing, but I had never been in recovery like this before. So even though it was 98 days, I had never done recovery like that. And so I had learned all these new coping skills, like she said, but I didn't know how to communicate sober. Mm-hmm. And then she didn't know how to deal with me, like you just said, sober. So there was a whole lot of that. And it's still, even to this day, several years into this, it's still a learning process for the both of us.
Yeah.
Know?
And until the day you die, it will continue to be that way.
Yeah.
I mean, same for us. We still struggle.
Mm-hmm.
and we know how to do the stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys do. I mean, you guys help other people do it. But it's one of those things, too, that even like we talk about sponsors, like your sponsor still is going to mess up. You know, nobody's perfect. You know, like you guys help guide couples. Jeremy and I hope to be there sooner than later to help. But nobody does it perfectly. You just try and do your best.
No, the mechanic has the worst running car.
Yeah.
Is that really a real thing?
I don't know.
Okay.
I see mechanics that want to buy cars all the time and try to fix them up, and they do have some crappy running cars.
Okay,
It's because they buy the worst of the worst, right?
Right.
Well, sometimes we kind of picked out the worst of the worst, so we're going to grow together.
Yeah.
And we're going to learn because we weren't good people. I mean, we didn't go into treatment because we were in a winning streak. Everything was about us. So to make it not about us for once was really, really difficult.
I still think that that's difficult today. I mean, my codependency still flares up. His ego and, you know, I want everything about me still flares up. And it's how we...
He has an ego?
Just a little bit.
I think you should tell us more about... No, I'm just
A
playing.
little bit.
No, you're not.
So what was one of the biggest tools that you guys have learned together since that time of being out?
You go.
I've been going. You go.
Because you're really good at talking. Listening to understand, not listening to
React.
Yeah, react.
We just talked to our 15-year-old about that.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a little mini me.
And it's like, am I actually hearing what she's saying? Am I trying to understand it? Or am I already trying to say, no, that's my ego kicking in, saying, no, it's not going to be that way. It's going to be this way because this is the way I want it to be.
Or you're wrong.
Yeah.
We just had that the other day.
She absolutely.
Oh, yeah. So
She
All right,
hates.
here we go. It's therapy
Triggers.
time, baby.
No.
Let's do
This
this.
is
Triggers.
hilarious. So, but it's gotten, especially I've noticed it over the last like couple months, and it's not like we argue all the time because it's not. But when we get into an argument, and I'll stop it, and she'll be like, "Do not therapy me."
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. She's like, "Don't you pull out your therapy tools and therapy me?" And I'm like, "But
Because I know what they are now.
it works."
It does work, but I guess that goes back to tone. Tone.
Oh, that goes back to a lot of it. I remember somebody used to say that a lot.
I did. With you.
Yes, you did.
You said, "Don't therapy me."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I could totally see that.
And then there's some times that she would say, you wouldn't speak to your clients that way. And I'm like, you need to come and sit down with me then. You'll learn.
And I actually did start sitting in with him, and I think became a better therapist because of it. Because I combined yours and my style. But yes, there are certain times when he'll do that, and I'm like, I am not your client. And it is frustrating, but
I think
having the background.
But there are techniques that work.
It's the most frustrating part because whether we want to admit it or not, you're right. So that's the easiest way to say, stop doing that.
Yes.
So it's easy to say that when we're right, they don't want us to do it.
We have that on recording forever.
Right.
You're not always right. Let's clarify that. But that was one of our triggers, too, I was going to say, is that when he was intoxicated, I always knew. Jeremy had his tells. I knew. And I would just be like, he'd lie to my face. He's like, I'm not drunk. And I'm like, yes, you are. And then he would use his sarcastic, very like knife to the heart. You're right. You're right. And so when he got out of treatment, we had to have discussions about triggers because I was like, you don't get to tell me I'm right anymore because it would literally take me back to like, it's like a trauma response. So I would just be like, I don't want to hear it. Like, it was awful.
So do you ever use it anymore?
No.
Okay,
You're correct.
Yeah, he changes it.
Yeah. And then another thing, we don't say we're sorry.
No.
It's if I have to say it, I'm sorry is a bad word, and we try to teach our kids that too. I have to take a step back and please forgive me for this because, and because when I ask for forgiveness, it's like just like asking when we go to God for forgiveness. We're saying we are really, really apologetic for it, and we're not going to do it again.
That's the goal.
That's
the goal, right? And obviously, I fail on that. But when I say it, it means more. When I say I apologize for this, and I actually call out my actions that led to whatever argument we had in the first place.
Because it's owning it then, too. I mean, everybody can say I'm sorry. So I can't stand that, especially when the kids do that. I'm sorry.
I still use the word sorry, but it's done with what I did. And that's something our kids learned. I wish people could have heard our kids even 5 years ago making amends. Because we used to tell people, it's like, look, you suck at doing this. Here, come listen to the kids. They tell you that they're sorry. They didn't mean to hurt you and for doing this. And it's like, how the heck does somebody so young get it, but we can't get it?
Well, and I would say our 13-year-old did that this week when he got in trouble at school and came home and was still acting hyper until he had to take his meds and got himself regulated. And then he came and apologized to me and why, and apologized to his dad and why. And so he doesn't just come out and say, I'm sorry.
No.
He comes out and says, I'm sorry and why he's sorry.
Yeah. I think our kids do a good job of that too. Much better than it used to be. Which we
But
get to
why
see
is
the
that?
opposite. Well, because that's what we teach them. It's I heard this a long time ago, more is caught than is taught too. So we are the ones that are setting the example. Our kids have a unique situation too, where they go between two houses that have kind of flip-flopped, as in the way that they do things. We don't have alcohol in our home. The other house has alcohol in their home. So my kids get to see a different side of what it's like over there. And the way that their dad and his wife do their things and how we do our things, they're very, very different. So I feel bad for them sometimes when they go there, because communication, right? And my 15-year-old calls it out all the time. Like, the way that they communicate is very different than the way that we communicate. And she can see it, and she sees it clear as day now. So she can see the difference in how we really do life differently than we did before. Because she saw the before. She was there during all of his tornado-ness.
Tornado-ness. He destroyed everything in the past.
That's what we called it. He was like a tornado, man.
It's an Eminem in somebody's song, right?
Oh, I don't know.
I do. It's got a good beat to the music.
I'd say Shane would know.
So, I mean, you guys met each other and you guys were both in recovery already.
Yes.
And so how are the arguments, I would say arguments or disagreements, like what are the conflict issues that you guys find yourself arguing about or disagreeing about the most in recovery?
So a lot of times for me, it's his tone of voice. Part of it's how I grew up with my dad, and the way my dad grew up with an alcoholic father himself. And my dad had to go to anger management classes. And so for me, that tone of voice that he'll get is a huge trigger. And just that deepness, like I can still go to my parents' house and my dad will say something and he just raises an octave and I just go into like this little Kristina and I still want to run out of the house to this day. So then I automatically get defensive. So that's a huge trigger that I have to be aware for myself, for me, to not react to him.
And mine is just all pride.
Yeah.
I love serving my wife. I love taking care of my wife. And then there's times that I'll say, hey, when is it my turn? And I know better. Because as soon as I say that with inside my head, it will come out eventually. And it usually won't be long and we're going to fight. And I hate when I do it. And so I have to recognize, and we talked about it on the last episode, I'm my own worst critic, right? I will degrade myself like no other. And it's when I get in there, then all of a sudden the pride comes. It says, I deserve this, I deserve this, I deserve this. Really, I deserve death for everything that I've done. Scripture tells me so, right? Mm-hmm. But we have a forgiving God, so I'm there. But I take it out on my wife, and I shouldn't. And for that sucks.
Yeah. And I would say, so I'm both. So I'm the codependent and the addict. And so, but I'm also a survivor of trauma. So it depends on what mode you catch me in. Mm-hmm. And so I can want to people please, or I can be stubborn, or I can be in that survival mode, or I can play the victim.
You're like a recovery chameleon.
I am.
You never know what you're gonna get.
You don't. And it all depends.
No, and you should see the surprise that you
you're
get
welcome,
when
Shane.
you're
welcome.
with her.
And so some of it depends on his mood. And so if I know he's in that mode, sometimes I'm going to go toe to toe and I'm going to try to survive because I had to do that before. And it's like, you want to go? Let's go. Because I've had a fight my entire life.
Jeremy,
at certain
do you do
times.
that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like,
Even though I know I'm going to lose,
yeah.
most likely, because I don't have the stamina, but I'm going to at least go for a while
Yeah.
because I'm going to be stubborn enough,
I'm
man.
going to argue to win.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. And I may not win, but I'm going to argue.
And I'll ask it again. What's the purpose of a fight?
And
To be right.
To be right? No, to win.
To win.
To hurt the other one more than I'm hurting. How do I do it? Well, there's no rules to a real fight.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
I will win.
I'm pretty sure we learned this from you guys in some fashion. But so when we do have arguments, we've always talked about have the word or whatever, and we always forget our word. We never do the word. It ends up being an argument, and then at some point, one of us walks away. Whether it's like the I'm getting out of here because I need to, or the whatever is said and walk away, right? Somebody walks away. Timeout word,
The
whatever
safe
it is.
word. I don't like using the safe word.
I know,
but
'cause
what's your special timeout word?
Yeah.
To give each
we
other
have-
space.
I think we've changed it multiple times and then we never actually use it. So, but what we do is when that happens, coming back together, and saying, this is what happened. This is why I reacted that way. This is what I was saying. And you do it in a much calmer, it's the way you should have done it before, but you now are doing it this way. And that's generally when he would come back and say, like you got it started. And my attitude was, you want to fight? I'll fight. I'll fight to win. So.
Yeah, it's such a bad attitude. It really is, but it's so hard to just swallow our pride and go, all right, look, I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to argue. What's the pain? What's the fear that's driving this in my wife?
Oh, that's what he says to me, and that's what.
But
I know.
He shouldn't say to you, if we ask ourselves this, we never get to the fight part. If I say, what's the pain? What's the fear inside of my wife right now? What is driving this? We won't ever fight. If I'll set my pride aside and ask that question, because there was one fight that we were having. It was a big, huge argument too.
Was it worth it?
Oh, it's never worth it. But in a way, it was worth it. Because as we're in the middle of this fight, she looks at me and she says, what's the pain? What's the fear that's driving this in you right now? And I said,
That would be me.
ooh, did that hurt? But it was what I was needed. And then I said, screw you. I love you. Thank you. Not exact words. I promise you the first one wasn't that. But it was all out of, and she's seen it too, because I had this big smile on my face as soon as she did it. It just changed me instantly.
Right.
And I'm like, screw you. I love you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And it was done.
And I would say probably one of the biggest things for me is being that chameleon. I'll stuff is my go-to. And so I'll let stuff build. And so I will stuff to the point, and then I will all of a sudden word vomit, and then I want to go in circles, and that drives Shane crazy. And so we've implemented this journal thing.
Yeah, we should have brought it down.
We should have. And so if I let things build, because for some reason my perception is I can't talk to my husband and don't feel he's safe because my emotional gauge is off.
Hot mess.
Mess.
Just call it what it is.
I'm just a hot mess. Then I can write those things down and say, hey, I need to talk to you. Are you in a good spot to do that? And then we can go through them one by one till we find a solution. Or at least let him know where I'm at with things, and then he's a little bit more open-minded.
Do you take a problem to your spouse when tensions are kind of high? Or do you take a problem to your spouse when things are going really good? Like, it's a good day for us. We're getting along very well. When should you bring a problem to your spouse? How about that?
I have zero patience. So if it comes in my head, it's not going to linger long. So
that's why they make pen and paper.
That's fine.
I'm dead serious. That's why they make pen and paper. It's a great thing to put down. If I need to have a conversation with Kristina that I really need her full attention on because it's bothering me, if we're having kind of or if she's just not in a good mood that day, whatever it may be, I'm not going to bring it to her in that moment. I'm going to bring it to her when I know she's in a good headspace. Now, will I wait days? No, I'd rather call somebody up and say, hey, I need to have a conversation. Let me have it with you real quick so I know I can have it with my wife correctly. But if you just come up to somebody and you tell them, hey, I really need to have a talk with you. and I need you to be able to hear me and hear my heart in this. It's a lot different than if tension's already flaring, then you just start word vomiting on somebody. Well, now it's just time to fight. Let's take the gloves off and let's bare knuckle this, and so there's a right time and a wrong time to bring things to people.
Do you guys use the same journal?
Yes.
I'll say
For that, yes. So normally what I do is if I know I'm a hot mess in that sense and I'm in my head and the dialogue is Shane does this, Shane doesn't do that, I do this. Like it's those all or nothing type things. I get my own journal that I write in every single day and I go to town and I just word vomit all over that thing. So it takes all the emotion out. And then I go to that communication log or journal and say, okay, point number 1, I'm doing all the housework and I'm stressed and it causes me anxiety. I would like some help with that. How can we come to a common ground with that? Because if I'm a hot mess, it's going to come off as Shane doesn't do anything. I do everything in the house. And the only thing he's going to receive is that he's a crappy husband.
I'm a piece of crap.
Yeah.
Negative self-talk.
Yep.
Is it the same things that you have in that journal? Have you crossed over the same things? Like, I'm just going to use the example if Shane doesn't do enough housework. Does that come, like, is there multiple times that the same thing comes up?
Yeah, maybe with that. But most of the things we don't because we write a solution. So it's easier to remember when we write things. Mm-hmm. And so it's usually me doing the writing on that part. I write all the solutions and because she brings a few more problems than what I usually bring. Living with me would be hard.
I'm crazy.
Living with me would be hard. Trust me. I get it. And so she'll bring more of the problems. So I like to work through those problems just one at a time. We don't move on until there's a solution to this one. Once I write that down, I remember it. I don't have a very good memory, but I could tell you when it comes to these solutions, I remember them. Mm-hmm. And I'll even bring it up. I'll be like, hey, when we talked our solutions, this is what we said. And so we'll go right to that. The journal's right upstairs in our bedroom. The old one, she just bought actually 2 new ones. They just got delivered yesterday.
Oh, those are sitting on the chair.
Yes, yeah. The purple ones upstairs.
I was like, oh, those look nice.
Yeah, those are for our arguments. So whenever we have a disagreement or something, we could go to our journal and then we could write down a solution. So that way we always have it. It's one of the greatest tools that we discovered for us that works well. And we try to share it with people, and if they'll just do it, it works. Anybody that tries it, they're like, oh, that's amazing. But it's getting them to realize, take your time out. Call your time out. It's okay. Go to your separate rooms in the house and write. Just write down the problems. I love what Kristina does because she don't bring me the whole, she brings me the aftermath of her journaling for a while.
Bullet points?
No. She'll bring like full sentences of it, but she journals all her problems and issues first, and she's able to work through those and say, okay, this is what the problem is. Let me bring that without bringing everything else.
I was going to say, Amy's already over there thinking how she's going to flip a notebook when we get home.
And it could be, but that'd be good if she brought it to you that way. I mean, it takes the emotion out, right? We're able to write it down. We're not adding all this extra crap in. We're not going on this crazy train.
I would say the thing that would work, that we probably should be implementing that, is because I feel like I do say and ask the same things. And when it doesn't get done, because we've had that discussion before, I feel like Jeremy says things to me just to shut me up. Yeah, I'll get it done. He has no intention on getting it done, but he will say it because it shuts me up.
Amen.
And then the argument comes around because you said you were going to, call your uncle the other day. Like, oh, I'll call him, and it was like, that's one thing I'll wait on. I know that I have done that. I waited on that because he promised he would do something, and he said he'll have it done. And I learned from my sponsor too, when can I expect that to be done? Because he did that a lot. Well, I'll get it. So I asked for a due date, right? When can I expect that to be done? By the end of the week. End of the week comes, goes into the next week. That's usually when I'm like, so were you going to do what you said? And I'm pretty sure I say it like that, which starts the argument.
Yep. So instead of saying, hey, our book of solutions up on the table, can you go check that out?
Yeah.
It's hard to argue when we wrote it.
Right.
It really sucks. Mm-hmm. There are also things that Kristina may need to bring to me, and I tell her how to bring those things to me. And when she brings them to me the way that we've discussed, it don't matter what she brings. If she says, hey, this, I can't get mad. I can't get angry, no matter what she brings me. It's just, the agreement we made. And if I break that agreement, then there's no trust.
Right.
It's hard enough to get her to open up closer to the beginning than just stuffing things. And if she'd get to that and she'd approach me the way she needs to, it's a lot easier. So if you bring me something, you said, hey, I could bring this to you and you can't get angry. Oh, man, why'd I give you that free get out of jail free card?
Right.
But then it allows me to open up and just listen. Not to respond, not to react, not to talk back, just to listen.
Because I would say, I mean, the one thing that helped us with communication was, one, we dated for 2 years with the boundaries of hands to hands, lips to lips. And so we got to work on communication. We got to do hobbies together. And then while we were together, our first year of marriage was hard. And I ended up having a really big mental breakdown. I had to go in the hospital, the psych hospital, for suicidal ideations. And then I went and worked on my trauma. And that was
a long year.
That was...
and that was the beginning. She went into the to the behavioral health unit at SSM at the end of December. So for Christmas and Lily's birthday, you were in the behavioral health unit. So this is how we're getting ready to start. We close a year out like this. And I didn't think we were going to survive the first year of our marriage anyway. So we close a year out and we begin the next year. This is how.
Right.
This is how we do it. It was crazy. But it was the greatest thing that could happen.
Yeah. And so I'm literally working through my trauma from like years ago of sexual trauma and the abuse trauma and everything. And no touching. Like.
Nah, I could barely lay in the same bed with you. It was bad. She couldn't have, like a shirt too close around the neck, it was over. You name it. It was a fun time in our relationship.
But I think that's where the walls really went down for us. And you were like, okay, how do I create a safe place for Kristina to come to me?
Yep.
And then that's where a lot of language started, where I would even text you or say, hey, I'm off today.
My favorite, I hate that text, but it's the greatest text I could receive.
Because, and now it's even sooner. Because I can see the cycles of, my depression or my anxiety, or maybe I don't know, but I can just feel something's going on. And that just clues him in that, okay, if she seems a little off or more crazier than normal.
Which is hard to do.
But he knows not to take it personally, and it's probably nothing to do with him. And so then it's, okay, what do you need, Kristina?
Yeah, but you know what that really gives me? That I need a builder. That I have more of a husband duty to do in building my wife up. That's what it tells me more than anything.
Yeah. I was actually going to say that. I find that we don't have as many disagreements when I'm pouring into her.
No, it's hard to have a disagreement when you're serving your wife.
Yeah, that's yeah. And I know we've talked about this as couples before, but it's when I pour into her, she doesn't think twice about pouring into me. It's like it just happens, very natural.
I think you guys have your Friday date day that you guys do, and that's like when you guys fill your cup, your man cups, whatever you guys do when you're smoking cigars. Just like when he goes to a meeting, I feel like he comes back, it's like his medicine kind of thing. But you can tell, I'm glad that it's weekly, because not that it wears off by Thursday, but there's things that he does differently kind of thing. But it's just always one of those, and I have said that, if you just do these things, that's what I need. Give me what I need that I've asked for before. And it's easier for me, of course, it's the love and respect thing is kind of, because I did that whole book series things before, the love and respect.
The pink hearing aids and the blue hearing aids and
it's
the
not hearing aids, it's
no, because they had the pink glasses and blue glasses, the pink hearing aids.
Oh, okay.
And you even have because it's speaking, hearing, seeing.
Oh, yes, true. Okay.
We
I always
see,
look at the glass.
hear, and speak differently.
Yeah.
And that was the dumbest thing I've ever went to, but yet the greatest thing I ever went to. For something so dumb, it was great.
It really is true. So when I learned love and respect, I was not really in a relationship. I was in and out of dating kind of thing. But I'm like, I'm going to see if this thing works. I'm going to use it on my ex-husband. So I would talk to him differently, all this stuff. And he was being much more nice to me. And I was like, I went back to church and I was like, y'all, like, this really works. Like, I did it on my ex-husband. Like, imagine if I was married. Like, what the heck? It was crazy.
But how quickly all those tools go out the window.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as we get a little butt hurt.
But then are we getting butt hurt because we're not?
Is that the technical term?
Yeah. I'll get you butt hurt report. You can buy them actually off Amazon.
clinical
But
term.
is what's funny. But how many couples don't date each other? We're always in our phones. We're always watching TV. We're always doing something. And I think one thing that's helped Shane and I is we do date. Or when I was working 60 hours, we made it a point to, I would come home at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. He's out there grilling. We'd eat together. We'd shower together because both kids would be in bed at this time because they're getting ready for school, getting up early. And then we'd watch a show and go to sleep. But we got to have that connect time.
That's the problem. Their shower's too big. They're not as close.
Yeah, we're pretty much on top of each
Just
other.
wait
during
till we
that time.
move. We're going from the Taj Mahal to a little mini thing.
Yeah.
To the trailer park.
It's funny that I mean, you guys got a 15 by 15 or something stupid, ridiculous
it's
now.
obnoxious.
Yeah.
That's very pretty.
But I think that's it. We do date each other
We do.
once a week, no matter what, we're going on a date. So if not twice a week,
Yeah.
I prefer to date
I think
you.
I don't think that we have we don't.
We
We
don't
have
have a
two
set.
kids going in different directions that are very busy. But the thing that we do a lot is like, he's like, oh, I got to run to get gas. I'm like, oh, I'll come with you. So it's just like us alone kind of thing.
But that's a date. I mean,
Right.
if
But
you're
it's not like
intentional
a
about
set.
it, yes.
Yes.
If
That's
you
how
don't-
I feel like we do a better job of it.
But you have to make time for your spouse, no matter what it is. Even if it's the invite, hey, I'm going to go take a shower. Will you hop in with me, right? And all you're going to do, and sometimes I'll wash her hair because I'm just that way and I can tell that she's stressed. Just those little things that we do, little invites that we get, that could all be a date when we don't have much time. You don't have to go somewhere to date either. You could pop in a movie and just put the phones away, put all the distractions away, and pour into your spouse.
I also think too, and I've been more intentional about this as the head of the household lately, is us praying together at night. That's something that we slacked on doing for a long time. It's like, oh, are you going to do that? And then she doesn't no, you don't remind me. That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
She doesn't like to pray though as a couple. She'll be like,
I do. I'm
just
getting
be like-
better. I'm just, okay, here's the deal, y'all. When you have someone that's a really good prayer and you're not a good prayer, I'm like, dear God, does my hair look good? Like, I'm not good at it. It doesn't come out right. And he's like, dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much. And but like, it all just like flows and it sounds pretty. And mine's like, thanks for making me do good at work
Yeah,
today.
I was not planning on being a pastor's wife.
Neither was I.
And I married someone who has prayed on stage and with people at hospitals. And so I get really anxious and anxiety praying in front
Like
of
sweaty
him.
hands. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it just sounds pretty. I'm like, mine doesn't sound pretty. So he always says, you will. So we're hold hands, right? And then he's like, I'll start. And then he does this thing, dear God. And then he just waits and squeezes my hand. I'm like, oh no, we're not going there. So he'll do his first part. And then then there's the silence and he'll squeeze. And I'm like, and then I'm like, dear God.
Don't make me do this. Give me the words to speak.
I know. So I do think it's gotten a little bit better, but it's just not, it's because it's learned. Like the more you do it, right, it'll get better.
Well,
the
and I
more
tell
you do
her
it.
too. It's just speak what's on your heart and what's on your mind. Just
I know.
Well, and here's what I was going to say to her. You said we don't have a problem talking with the four of us sitting down doing this.
Right.
Why do you have a problem talking to God? It is just a conversation.
I know all those things. That doesn't mean that I don't get sweaty hands and go like, "Ugh."
Right,
I
but
talk a lot, and
It's just
sweaty
it's just a conversation with God.
Yeah.
Do you do that when you're alone? Do you get sweaty hands having that conversation?
No, do you? No.
Then why would you have it?
Listen
I
here,
mean,
pastor boys.
it's
Y'all
only a
intimidate us
conversation.
little,
There's no
okay?
right way, no wrong way. And if you fumble over words, I don't care because what you said in the end comes from your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's beautiful. Like if you're going to pray with him, if it's coming from your heart, then it's a beautiful thing. And God already knows our heart anyway. So how it comes out, he really don't care.
No.
You don't have to speak it out loud, but when you do and you two are together, that's just a moment that would fill him up because it came from your heart. So you can fumble over your words, you can stutter, you can do anything you want. It won't change it.
I do all the things.
And if your words came out just perfect, it wouldn't change it.
It has gotten better though.
It has.
We'll see.
Our son prays pretty good.
He does.
I'm trying to think of how many times I've heard Kristina pray in front of me.
Does he pray like this? Now that he's
Yeah, he got a deep voice.
got a deep
Now that
voice
he
now.
got a deep voice.
His voice changed?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
I need to hear him.
Yeah, we'll have you hear him.
He walked into his bedroom one night. He walked out and he had a voice.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, where'd that come from, boy?
What were you saying? Sorry. So he prays.
Oh, he does pray. He's totally different now that his sister is getting some time with her biological father. Yeah. But the other thing I was going to say, as far as like communication and like recovery, I think going to church together, like I know you and Amy go to church together. Shane and I go to church together. I think that's kind of another date thing. We like the whole recovery thing. I'll go to my own meetings. I know you guys go to your own meetings. And Shane and I will do Celebrate Recovery. And one thing that I love about Celebrate Recovery is large group is together, right, for an hour. And then after that, then you have your open share groups. But it's men specific and women specific. So it's like we get our time together. So it's kind of a date. And then I get to go to my own group and he gets to go to his own group. And so it's still working separate recovery. And I think I still need that separate recovery because I can't work his program and he can't work mine.
That's one of the things we did when he got out of treatment the first time, for sure. We did AA date night, and went and just listened and hung out. And I always encourage people in Al-Anon to go to AA meetings because it takes the how personal it is to you out of it, because you're listening to someone else's story and you're hearing somebody else because you think yours is the worst, right? Mine's the worst story. Like, I had to throw all the alcohol away. I had to do all this stuff. He did this to me. We don't have money, blah, blah, blah. Then you show up in an Al-Anon meeting and you're like, people just like nod their heads because they have the same thing. And then you go to an AA meeting and there's somebody else where you're like, oh, my husband's bad, but he ain't that bad. You know, like you have other things to compare it to. So you realize it's not that bad. So our date night is where I found one of the girls in Al-Anon that brought me to Al-Anon because she was on a date night with her husband. And I literally looked at her and I was like, I told him after me, I was like, I have to talk to her. I want whatever she's got. Like whatever is going on with her, that's what I need. And that's how I found my home group because she went to my home group.
So I think another big thing is to make sure that I always work my recovery. And I think that's helped our relationship is me working my recovery and you working your recovery.
Yes, because you can't work mine and I can't work yours.
No.
Every time you try, yeah, you get kind of angry.
Yeah.
Codependency flare.
Yeah.
And my mental health will tank if I don't work mine. And if my mental health tanks, then we tank.
Ooh.
Yeah,
The two have become one.
Yeah, it's kind of brutal. But I deal with a lot of your mental health. But that's what's fun for me, I think. And that's another problem. We'll have to say that for another broadcast. Helping versus codependency.
Yes.
Where's the line?
Yeah.
That's it. That's a hard one. Think about the service area that we're in, all of us in this room. So
Codependency is more like, I'm going to do it for you. Like, I'm going to make sure that I do it, not so much help you.
But there's certain questions I ask. You know, what's in it for me? Where's my heart? What's my motive? And so when I ask those questions, it's, you know, what am I getting out of this now? So what's in it for me? What am I getting out of this? And then, of course, where's my heart? What's my heart in this? And what's my motive? I ask those questions and it'll help. But I think it'll be a good one to do with you guys. Maybe next time we'll take half of it and do testimonies with them.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I'm kind of digging this.
Me too.
Yeah.
So Kristina and I wanted to do our own couples to where we could really help some couples just go out there. Because, I mean, we have the person that can share it, the wedding coordinator who does some really good work for you guys when it comes, especially social media. So we could put it out there. I think it'd be fun to do. I love to sit down here and rap with my wife and talk about things that we love anyway.
Yeah.
Relationships, each other, and recovery, and Jesus.
In Jesus.
Yeah.
Closing remarks?
Yeah, let's find them.
Ooh, everybody looked at me.
Because we always start there and work our way around.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know the routine. My bad. Closing remarks. I'm gonna kind of go off what Kristina said. That I need to be the best person I can be and work my recovery. And when I work my recovery, our relationship goes to a whole new level. I try and tell people that with the job that I have too. That I always ask if they say they're an alcoholic. I say, what's your wife doing? You know. So I try and spread the Al-Anon love that I need to do my part because I have a part in it as well. It is not just him, although I really want it to be some days, but it's not just him. I have my own part in it. So
one of our favorite things to say, man, if the person at home don't get help, the relationship's still broke.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And people hate hearing it. They get mad at me. Don't want to hear it.
Kristina.
I would say me spending time with God every single day through my journaling is key for me, and it definitely helps me communicate with my husband on a lot different level. And I can tell when I don't do it, and I think he can tell when I don't journal.
I can tell when you miss meds or don't journal.
Yes.
Two easy things to tell if you've done.
Yes.
We do that too.
Jeremy sets mine out now like I'm a little kid.
Codependent much, huh?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Or it could be service because she works a lot.
Yes, thank you, Kristina.
Way to go, Kristina.
We would call that out on anybody else doing it codependent.
So is it codependent when I'm sick and you get me meds, or you're
Yeah.
sick and I get you meds?
Yeah.
We'll try to justify his bad behavior.
Thank you, Kristina.
Did
I'll
you
try
see
to
how bad
justify
his
it.
eyes rolled on that?
I'll try to justify that bad behavior. But that's a good thing to talk about next time. Is that codependent or is that... Depends what your heart or your motive is. I don't want my wife to be crazy today, and I lay that out. Wrong heart, wrong motive. That's codependency. Now, truly, if it's the right heart, right motive, it's all good to do.
And say she does work a ton of hours, so it could be his
Hey,
way
it's
of
cutting
helping.
back now, man.
Happy wife, happy life, man.
Yeah. This is true.
Serve God, and everybody's going to be happy.
Amen.
Serve your wife, and they'll be happy. Scripture for today.
2 Corinthians 5:16 and 17. So, from now on, we regard no one from a worldly point of view. Though we once regarded Christ in this way, we do so no longer. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone. The new is here.
Yeah, buddy.
Couples verse, by the way.
I know.
And we could go back. I mean, we could dive all over Corinthians anyway, but we always hear in a wedding, women, serve your husband or be obedient to your husband.
Ooh, people don't
Submit.
like when you say
Submit.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, submit to your husband, be obedient. And the whole thing is we're told the same thing, but pastors just seem to leave that
I know.
piece of scripture out. Mm-hmm. Serve your wife. Serve her well. If you serve your wife, I promise you, your marriage will be better than you could ever dream of. When I serve my wife, there's not a thing we could ever argue about. When I look at my wife and say, what's driving this? What's the pain? What's the fear? There's nothing that we can argue about. When I take me out of the equation, when I set aside my pride, we cannot argue. We just can't.
Which is nice.
We forgot to give them a tool, though, because I think you said love and respect earlier.
I did.
For us, it's Thanos. So do a Thanos check-in at night. We'll just do it. What's it stand for, Kristina? Do you remember?
Yes. F is for feelings. A, affirmation. N, needs. O, ownership. S, struggles, sobriety. And then we've added on successes.
Because you got to keep it balanced.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, so the success at the end is one of our people started doing that, and it has really changed everything. So if you don't know what a feeling is, get a feeling wheel. It's the greatest thing in the world to have anyway.
I
I
hope
got them all
everybody-
over.
I'm for sure laminating it and giving it to him.
Go through this entire podcast without that.
Oh my goodness. When they move into their new house, I know what we're getting them for a housewarming
You're not
gift.
going to get me a large...
A fat head. A fat head for the wall that's a feeling wheel. Yes.
A framed feeling wheel.
Oh, no, we're going to get you a fat head to put
Well,
on the
she
wall.
won't allow that.
Yeah, I don't know about all
Yeah. Yeah.
Put it right above the bed so when they're arguing at night, they can just look up.
That's what I'm in the orange.
I'm feeling this.
I'm in the orange.
So for the feelings, get a feeling wheel, because don't talk about things that you wish or anything else. It's a true feeling. Affirmation, we should always build our spouse up. So anything that I can say to build her up. Need, I mean, we all want, but what's a need that you need to share with them? Ownership, I know I've done something that I need to own up to. What were you going to say? It looked like you're about to spit
No, I
something
was going
out.
to say, where did I mess up, Ron? Like, just like, I done messed up.
Yeah, without a doubt. So look up Thanos. You could Google it. It'll give you a whole bunch of things to do for it, since we didn't have much time to go over it because we have too much time talking about other stuff.
Yeah, they give an example if you look up Thanos.
Yeah. I would like to have you guys back.
Oh, yes.
I'm sure they would love to have you back. And then maybe just do something with the couples every once in a while anyway.
If they have any questions, where do they reach us at?
info@awakensober.org.
Okay.
That's info@awakensober.org.
Awake and Sober, we are on every podcast platform out there. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe.
Hey, do you journal with one of these?
I do.
I got one of those.
What
You
is
have
that?
one too?
Yeah.
Jeremy, I know you dig them. Our new
Dig 'em or lose
sponsor,
'em.
Tactile Turn, and our pins will be in Tuesday. So I'm excited for that. And then we're going to do a giveaway for one. So people were thinking of exactly how to do it, but you'll be able to get your own free Tactile Turn pen. Stay tuned, but go look them up. TactileTurn.com, the greatest tool you could ever have. Love you guys. Good night.
Peace.